It's the only wrestling podcast on earth that gives you the best hair advice on around. We have my favorite guy that looks like a 70s Oakland A out there. He's a two-time MLB All-Star. He's a comeback player of the year. He is the head coach. It's Dmitri Young. That's right. Next, it's my favorite Canadian. He's my best friend and yours. He's a creator of the Canadian Destroyer, the best ever transitional move that you will ever see at any show 19 times. That's right. He's a two-time X Division champion. It's Petey Williams.
How's she going, Hey?
Guys, we have a man amongst us boys, a guy who has the mic lowered down, almost like Mr. Anderson.
Oh, shit.
That's right. He has been rocking the globe for 3 generations. I don't know. That's right.
Maybe 4 decades.
4 decades. He is one of the forefathers of punk music. It's Lars Fredrickson.
How you doing, fellas? And you know what? Dmitri does look like a 70s Oakland A or an Oakland Raider.
I stole that from by the way, you said that before we hit record. I had to steal it for the intro. So you get.
But we never had the honor to see Dmitri Young play in the Kelly Green and Gold. So it's a comeback. You got to make a comeback, Dmitri. Get you and Reggie back out there.
You said Reggie.
Well, here's a cool question, Dmitri. How close did you ever come for playing for any of those West Coast teams?
Oh no, it was always the Midwest team. There was always rumors of me going to Minnesota or going to Cleveland. I actually went to Detroit, so it was never going to the Giants or coming down here to LA and play for either the beloved Dodgers or the Angels, whatever name they were going by, California, Anaheim, LA, whatever it is. Never had a chance, or San Diego. It was always out east.
Well, just sorry, Dennis. Just your name alone, though, Dmitri Young sounds like an Oakland A. We had Sal Bando, Catfish Hunter, Vita Blue, Reggie Jackson, Dmitri Young. You get what I'm saying? You see how it flows? Ricky Henderson. You know what I mean?
And they were legends because they had that personality too. That Oakland would allow both Oakland A's and the Raiders. They let those guys just be who they are, wild hair and all.
That's in the dugouts.
Yeah.
I can't believe not even a little bit. There was no you didn't even have I asked Kendall this question once when we were doing the Wrestling with Sports podcast, and I think he said that he almost went to the Giants or something, and he waived his no trade clause, or he was going to, and then there was something that scared him off, and he didn't waive it. So I didn't know. Is there a team that you almost joined? How about that?
Almost
joined. Give me one team. Come on.
It would have been the Twins back when I was with the Nationals in 08, and no, it was 09. No, it was 08. God dang, I'm old. But I was getting hurt right towards the end, and then it was like, No, take that back. It was 07. It was 07, and I had the option to either stay and sign a 2-year deal or go. And after all the debacle I got myself in 06, I felt like I found a new home in 07 with the Nationals. So I was like, man, give me the money. I'll stay.
Well, now that the sports talk's done, it's time to get into the wrestling talk, guys. We have a lot of things to go over. We decided tonight to go guestless. It was just one of those nights where we were going to sit down. We had a guest book, but we thought, you know what? We haven't got a chance to just talk to each other and just pick each other's brains about what's been going on in wrestling. So we said, hey, said guest, we'll book you for another night. Tonight, we just want to be with ourselves. So, guys, it's just us tonight.
I'm looking forward to it. Hey, remember when this is something that Jordan Grace, all right?
Yeah.
Just re-signed with Impact. Remember we had her on the podcast and she was talking about her, contract coming up. I just want to go back because we never really follow up with a lot of things we talk about on the podcast. We do a good job of talking about the future, but never like, hey, I wonder what happened. So when we had her on, she said, yeah, my contract's up in May. and now she re-signed with Impact. So that's a good catch on Impact right there.
Wow.
And a little behind the scenes, a little inside baseball. When she dropped that on the podcast, like P and I, we've had our hands spanked before because we dove too deep into certain subjects from impact management. So when she said that, I think PD and my buttholes both kind of puckered up a little bit, like, oh my gosh, I hope we don't get in trouble for this.
I mean, kind of. It's just like, hey, I don't understand why. I just never got it. Maybe I'm come from a different, era of wrestling. I don't know why people talk about their contracts like on the air. Like, hey, like to me, it seems like it's like a kind of hey, I know I'm not allowed to negotiate with anybody because it's against, the rules. However, just putting this out there, I'm a free, my contract's up in whatever, July. Like that could be interpreted as a breach of contract, kind of. I don't know.
You know what? Here's my question. In baseball and football and other sports, they have agents, like not a road agent with a wrestling fan, but an agent that would sit there and negotiate contracts and endorsement deals and things of that nature. Do they have that in professional wrestling, or every person just goes in there and negotiate for themselves?
No, you can have an agent. Like when I was like really heavy into Impact, I had an agent. A lot of people have probably everybody in WWE probably has an agent.
How much do they take? Because baseball, but I got between 2% to like 3.5%, but some guys are up to 5, 7. Depends on the services that they do outside of merely negotiating a contract.
Yeah, it depends. It could be anywhere from like, hey, I'll do you a solid, all the way up to that higher percentage. So it depends. It depends, like, if he's negotiating something for you and like you didn't gain any extra money, it's like, hey, what am I paying you for? I could have did that myself, So it all depends. It depends on the agent, the person, what you're looking for, what company, all that kind of stuff. So
Was
so does it go like real? Say that again, Dennis.
Wasn't Scott D'Amore your agent?
yeah, Scott D'Amore got a lot of people a lot of money back when when he wasn't the head of Impact. I don't want to go too deep into it, but he negotiated some really, really, really good contracts. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know. We should have asked Scott about it when we had him on the show, but he'd probably just not answer the question anyway. So
yeah, he definitely had his thing, like, ask question A, Rolodex, answer questions.
yeah. But he did ask at the last set of tapings. He was getting his back worked on or whatever by our therapist guy, and he was like, Petey, when are you gonna have me back on your show? And I'm like, dude, you were just on like last week. I'm like, you want to come back on? All right, let's do it. And we joked around for a little bit about, pretty much how he answers questions and all that kind of stuff. But he said he loved it. So he wants to come back.
I had a question for him. Should I just put it out there now?
Yeah.
For him?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can talk about the question that I want to ask him. I was wondering if Impact and AEW would do like, well, in different sports, different organizations, let's make trades.
Oh, that'd be, I mean, I don't know if they would do that like legit, like, but storyline wise, that'd be because like WWE does it with their roster shakeup, SmackDown. I'll trade you to SmackDown to Raw. Okay, you guys it's all coming out of the same paycheck. But it'd be really interesting because we are two different organizations owned by two different people, and if we did a trade, that'd be a really good storyline. I don't know if it would legit work in real life.
Hey, Petey, I gave you some ammo. Yes.
Yeah, now you got me thinking. You got me wondering now.
Well, something sparked with me when you guys were talking about like the free agency kind of thing, with Jordan and stuff like that, and her signing the contract. And it's so funny because you can tell like who's kind of up for contract renewal. Because I can't remember where I heard it, but I thought I heard Daniel Bryan saying that he would love to wrestle Kenny Omega. I don't know if he's like dropping hints like, okay, my contract is up. I want to go somewhere else maybe. So give me my motherfucking money. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? To have to say. Because if you think about it, like it would probably be in the company's best interest to keep him, right? At least like make him a producer or something like that, you know? So I don't know.
Speaking of Daniel Bryan, Pete, you have a really cool story about him and you.
Do I?
Yeah, the last days on the let me just set it up from here on out,
Okay.
right? If I tee you up.
That was so Canadian how he said that too. Do I?
All right. From here on out, I will tee you up and lead you into it so you know where I'm going. So just pretend. Just be like, you know what I do, and then pause, and then let me tee it up.
Okay.
All right. Can we pray? Speaking of Daniel Bryan, Pete, you have a great Daniel Bryan story.
Yes, I do.
Can you tell it? His last day on the Indies.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was his last match at Ring of Honor. We were, I don't know, I want to say like Manhattan Center, somewhere in New York. And, we both had to go to the airport afterwards. But his last match, I wrestled Austin Aries that night. It was, he was their world champion at the time. We had Todd Sinclair as our referee. And, he's kind of a pudgier dude. And every time he counted, they would say Twinkies. So I'm like, but what was bad is we actually had teased a count out for the finish, and we're like, oh no. I'm like, they're gonna count Twinkies after every single one, Twinkie, two. And we're like, and the worst part is Ring of Honor, they don't do a 10 count.
Oh,
they do a 20 count. So I'm like, oh, and so anyways, we had our match, but Daniel Bryan had a hell of a match. It was him and Nigel McGuinness's last match on the Indies. They were both like leaving Ring of Honor. I believe, was Nigel going to WWE too? I think they both were.
Oh, he became Desmond Wolfe with TNA.
I want to say that he might have joined WWE first. I don't remember, and then got released. I don't remember. But yeah, Daniel Bryan, I mean, it's not much of a story. I just remember afterwards, we're driving to the airport, and I knew it was gonna be the last time I saw him, and I just said, "Hey, man," I said, "good luck with everything, man." And so there you have it. My luck paid off for his big success, right?
I'm sorry, but I still kind of geek out when he tells these stories about some of these guys that we watch every week. He's like, "Yeah, I wrestled him 100 times. I know Bryan Danielson."
I have a Daniel Bryan story as well, and I went out to dinner with him, and I didn't know he was a vegan.
Yeah.
And not only that, I thought he was like into some like cool music, and then he told me he was into country. And I didn't have anything else to say at
that. Even better story than I got.
Oh, that's a good story. I will say he was a genuinely nice person, very soft spoken, but very cool.
Yeah. Oh, he's a great human being. I've never heard any bad stories about him and stuff like that. So, and great wrestler in the ring. So
amazing.
Yeah, so what if you don't have, if you listen to country music? I hate country music, by the way. That's the one music I do not listen to. I listen to all other music, but country's not up my alley. That's for sure.
If it's something like Johnny Cash or Waylon Jennings,
Johnny Cash, I'll listen to some old Kenny Rogers, stuff like that. But I'm just not into it.
The new country just sounds like Scorpion rock ballads. You know what I mean? I'm just waiting for, a little German to come out, start singing about the zoo or some shit.
Wait, now, Dmitri, can you name a wrestler that you met that you were really impressed with?
I'm thinking back to off the field during the season in a city that's open till 3 a.m. Is that what you're talking about, or actually going to a wrestling event and being like, "Oh, hey, dude, how you doing?"
Both.
Because I was thinking, adult style during the season at an establishment where articles of clothing are being removed, and I gave 100 to take care of one of those guys. at a establishment that served delicious food.
Yeah,
And yes.
Wait, time out. A wrestler going to a place where women get naked? No, never heard of that.
Yeah, I was about to say, this sounds so unlike you, Dmitri.
Yeah, I wasn't a person that I would go there for the food. That's why I was Dmitri.
I know that you went there after Bible study to get some food because it was late. So
I don't think the Lord say turn down ass.
This is great because this is how we talk when we don't hit record. So this is fun that the people.
did anybody, I want to know, did anybody watch Blood and Guts? And, I know everybody's been talking about AEW and, everybody's kind of been bagging on WWE, but I thought Blood and Guts was a great, great show.
As of this recording, I have not. I have it planned to watch it tonight. So I'm excited to see it. I'm not even telling people when we're recording. So I'm going to make it sound like it's still going on.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Pete, for burying that for me, my friend. You're really bad at this whole thing, aren't you?
Yeah. Terrible.
But, okay, without giving too much away, because it's been out for a few days now, everybody's heard it, and I've seen the results, even though I've tried hard not to. So talk me through this. What was your favorite match? What is the match I need to watch?
I think every single match on that card was great. It was well put together. The one thing that was hard for me was when they would do the cutaways, to the commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Picture in picture.
Picture in picture.
Yeah, I'd much rather see it just edited as opposed to trying to watch while you're getting force fed with a Ric Flair fucking commercial.
Woo! Woo!
Which is actually better than Burger King, but still, it's like I'm trying to pay attention and I'm like emotionally connected there. And I understand why they do it. And I think it was great as a novelty for a while. But now I'm just kind of wish just cut from one thing to the next. But I would say that the main event was, pretty awesome. I mean, I think it lived up to its name in a lot of ways because I think every single person in there was bleeding by the end of the match. I thought the tag team match was great. I thought QT and Cody did great. And then they brought out the boxer guy, and the English cat. His name is
Anthony Ogogo.
Right.
Yeah, what he did to Cody. Ooh.
And how they're just kind of getting behind that. And he's a boxer and he's got these hands, so it's like there's, that's one of the things I think that what AEW is doing now is they're getting more into that believability. It's not so they're kind of tuning into those little things,
Lars, let me ask you something. So Bubba Ray just tweeted recently that, if I was Impact Management, and I didn't see this, but maybe you could describe it for me. If I was Impact Management, I'd be really upset that somebody other than Kenny Omega is carrying around the Impact Championship.
Right.
Yeah.
So Kenny Omega, his tag team partner, there's this whole thing, whatever. And then he comes back out to cut a promo and homie's got, one belt around his waist, two belts over his shoulders. And Kenny Omega's only got the AEW strap around his waist.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of agree with Bubba Ray. If you're going to be carrying, I kind of see why he's doing that because he's kind of like unpurposely being disrespectful to that belt.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you see where Impact is going with this now, Rich Swann is not even in the picture anymore. Now they're doing a tournament to find the number one contender, which kind of bums me out a little bit because I would love to have seen the return of that.
I didn't. I didn't want to. As much as I like Rich Swann as a person, friend of the show, we've had him on a million times. I thought going into this whole storyline, Rich Swann's stature was not big enough to carry this rivalry. I thought Moose should have been the guy that should have been in that spot. He's big, he's strong, he has a great physique, he can talk. His presence is bigger when you get him in the room. Rich Swann is kind of meek and he's what Dmitri?
I was gonna say maybe this was built by design to have Moose eliminated early and then have a stronger foe for Kenny Omega.
So, and Petey's down there smiling, so maybe Petey knows something.
No, I mean, the only thing I'm going to say, like everybody talked about, we never really talked about that Rebellion match with Rich and Kenny. But everybody was giving it great reviews, big fight feel and stuff like that. You know, I was on headset during the match. I knew, you know, that they had about a half hour that they were going to wrestle or a time allotted to them and stuff. And, you know, halfway through the match, you know, Rich got his bell rung pretty bad. I mean, I don't know if you could tell, you know, there's certain things that I was able to tell, like just the way he was kicking out of pins and stuff like that. I knew that wasn't typical Rich. I knew it wasn't just a sell. So, you know, that match was just hyped for so long. And I really wish if, even though it was a phenomenal match, and that's how good Rich is, his bell could be rung and he could just be on coast mode, like just, you know, cruise control, and still have a phenomenal match. But just to think if he didn't get knocked a little loopy, like how much even better that match would have been. But that's the only thing I'm gonna say about you know, storyline wise and stuff. I mean, you're gonna have to wait and see what happens coming up. I mean, we're pretty much only like a couple weeks off of Rebellion. You know, we're having the tournament, so we all just have to see how it plays out.
I wish you guys had Moose signed right now, because that's I know as being a wrestling fan, if a wrestler is not signed to a contract or his contract's coming up, the company is hesitant to put a belt on the guy. I mean, you've seen it, and sometimes the guy is asked to do a favor on his way out if he's not staying. Moose, I feel like him or hate him, he's one of those guys that stepped up during COVID and has proven himself to be a heavyweight champion. And I'm guessing he's destined for big things. I hope that he chooses to stay for Impact. But boy, if he chooses to stay for Impact, it's, to me, Moose is the guy to go up against Kenny. As much as I love Josh Alexander, I think it's too soon for Josh Alexander to go up against Kenny Omega to make that feel believable.
Yeah, I think Moose is the guy. I think you're right on that. And the more and more that I think about it and what you said, Dmitri, about just that maybe it was by design. I mean, Moose is in incredible shape. He's a great wrestler. The only thing I would change about him is his trunks, honestly, because there's too much going on. You know what I mean? He's got full tattoos, and then he's the trunks. I don't know. I know I'm sitting here giving Moose fashion advice in some weird way, so I'm just pass it along. But but I think that you're right, though, Dennis. I think he's the guy. I mean, he's got the build, he's got the look, he's incredible talent. I love watching him, and I think it would be pretty amazing if he beat the shit out of Kenny Omega. Honestly,
I would agree. Moose, I think when I wasn't with the company back during COVID and stuff, you know, my last match prior to COVID was back in February of 2020. It didn't air till March, but my last match was against Moose. We were building up to this big TNA, actual TNA, like you know, special, and we were going to do it WrestleMania weekend and stuff. And Moose was there, you know, beating former TNA guys and all that kind of stuff. And you know, we kind of got to see that because Moose ended up walking around with the TNA title for a long time and all that kind of stuff. But I really think at that point, like, they should have pulled the trigger on Moose and made him the champion. Like, he was the guy. Like he looks like he would be Impact's world champion. Like,
for sure.
He looks like a star. He acts like a star. He wrestles like a star. But then again, sometimes chasing the belt, that's like, okay, like we're all talking right now, we want to see him win. When's he going to have his chance, you know? But at the same time, I look at somebody like a Seth Rollins back at Ring of Honor. I think when they pulled the trigger on him too late, and nobody cared anymore when he became world champion at Ring of Honor. So sometimes you got to find that you don't want to do it too early. You don't want to do it too late. You want to do it just right. And that's the tough point in booking a wrestling show.
And here's one thing that I see as well when we're talking about Moose here and that main event scene. The current WWE champion and the one, well, he didn't beat The Miz, but we're talking about Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley when they were both in TNA Impact, and Moose was up against those guys and had great matches and actually beat those guys. And so these guys are on top of the world in WWE. So I think that the writing is definitely on the wall that Moose is the guy. He definitely earned his stripes and waited in line patiently as he honed his craft to be that main event guy. So, you know, that's what I'm seeing from my angle or my perspective.
I think if Moose goes anywhere, Moose is not going to be that big of a star. Let's think about this now. He goes to AEW. He's just another big guy. They already have several big guys. They
don't have a big black guy.
No, but I mean, how many companies have done right by a big black guy as a champion?
WWE is currently.
Finally, WWE is after 30 years. I mean, how many years has Bobby Lashley been there?
He had 2 stints.
Great. Congratulations. WWE has done something right for 2 months with Bobby Lashley. Let's bring down the confetti and give them all the props and wash away all the bad they've done with Bobby Lashley up until then. All right. When they hit 4 months, call me. Okay, Dmitri? Call me then.
I'm gonna call you a prick.
But I'm serious. Any other company, I don't think Moose has that big feel because that Impact, he has that big money, big main event feel. He goes to AEW, they already have a ton of big guys. They have all the
they have a ton of big guys that ain't doing nothing. He's gonna be the big guy that does something.
Do you think so though? I'm not knocking AEW and I'm not knocking WWE. I just don't think they would be able to develop Moose like Moose has been developed in Impact.
I agree 100% on that for sure. But I think it's going to take a match with like a Kenny Omega or somebody like that to really put him on the map.
Yeah, if we look back at what was that 6-man that they had? I want to say it was back in January. I can't remember the name of the pay-per-view. Maybe hard to kill or something like that. Where Moose actually took, I think, Alex Shelley's spot, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Moose was like pretty much the standout guy in that match. It was like a 6-man or an 8-man or something like that. So props to Moose. Now, I never want to count anybody out. Like I kind of agree with you, Dennis and Lars, but I kind of don't. Like I look at somebody like a Killer Cross, right? But maybe he didn't have a long enough time in Impact. But now, like, you know, he changed over to WWE, and now he's NXT, you know, champ. So you just never know what they're going to do somewhere else. Maybe a change of scenario is what they need, or I don't know. But yeah, if Moose were to be with Impact, and he's always been portrayed as a big star here. So that's
Moose in NXT though, I think that could work. In the current WWE product, no way, not in a million years. AEW, maybe not, but I think he's so rough around the edges, and that's why I'm saying if his look was more rough around the edges, I think that would catapult him. He's a scary individual. He's a brick shithouse. Mm-hmm. If he had a beard or something just gnarly about him, besides like these like, you know, kind of like Edge-esque trunks, you know what I mean? Like they look kind of like a rock star can or something. It's like if he would just go, I mean, sorry about the fashion guys, but like if he would go a little bit more rough around the edges, I think that would, oh man, boom.
Like a Kimbo Slice kind of just, I'm gonna come kick your ass. And
yeah, he needs that more of that Ron Simmons thing. You know what I mean?
See,
to draw a connection.
Oh, so normally, Lars, I think you and I are on the same page on a lot of things, but I disagree. I like the business suit. I like this business Moose guy that we see. I like when he comes out with the flashy robes because it brings out this personality in Moose that really makes him shine so much brighter. If he came out just kind of plain with the beard and goes.
That's what I'm saying. That's not plain. That's
It
classic.
makes him scary. It makes him real
That's
scary.
classic heel.
He's
I mean,
scary
when
now.
CM Punk, when he was a heel, he grew out his chest hair, he grew out his face hair, he grew out his hair because he wanted to look like a dirty hobo that would stab you, right? That's why he was a great heel. It was like Rick Rude mixed with like Bad News Brown. You know what I mean? So it was like, that's what I'm seeing with Moose. Moose is like that. The Hurt Business is doing this 3-piece suit really, really good. Okay. And it's almost like they took that a little bit maybe from him.
Yeah.
Okay. So unfortunately, Moose didn't have that stage to kind of say, well, this was mine first, you know, but that's what happens with all great underground talent is they always get poached. Like look at the Ramones or Motorhead. You know, Motorhead's not even in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and there wouldn't have been a fucking Metallica, a fucking Green Day, a Rancid, a fucking anybody, unless it was Motorhead, right? But they're not even recognized. They're the Moose of TNA or Impact, right? And the Hurt Business, and they're all those guys are great and love them all, and I think what they're doing is perfect. But he was kind of like the one that kind of brought that to the table originally. I'm saying, fuck that. Like, boom, massive role reversal. You know what? You stole my shit. Now I'm gonna go mad. I'm gonna grow a beard. I'm a fucking, you know, whatever. And I'm, you know, I don't know. I think that would be a really good thing for him.
Dmitri?
Man, I'm sitting here weighing the options because I did like those loud suits because when I played, I used to wear the loud suit, but I also had the crazy facial hair and the crazy hair. I'm pretty sure he can't grow a fro or anything like that based on his baldness. He probably got the George Jefferson cul-de-sac. But as far as a beard is concerned, have a nice Rick Ross beard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He could do that with the loud suit and be a bad, because I like the way that he talks. He's very slow and meticulous. And when he talks like that, that's almost scary because God, the guys that yell, you kind of go, okay, but the calm guys that talk, it kind of put you in a mood that I want to run away from you.
Very Jake Snake.
So yes, and so I'm seeing both sides, both you, Lars, and you, Dennis.
What about you, Pete, since you're kind of backstage?
Yeah, so I think Moose is so good that he could pull off either character that everybody's describing. I really do. I think he pulls off the suit, the hey, I'm rich, you know, former football player, like I got money, you don't, and I'm cocky, you know. The one bad thing about that is, you know, usually when you see that kind of heel, you know, you almost think that he's you know, he's gonna beg off, like that kind of heel, like a scared heel, which that isn't the case with him. Although, like, talking about like the rough looking Moose, like even his name Moose, that's like a rough animal right there. I could see him pulling that off too. Like I could totally picture that. And if, you know, it runs the course with this, you know, suit and I'm rich and all that kind of stuff, if you were to go the other way, he'd be able to pull that off and reinvent himself. So, man, I mean, Moose is that good that he could pull off either one.
But that's what we're talking about, the caliber of a wrestler that he is, that he can go so far from extremes. I mean, that's the guy that you want to be your champ, to be your dude, because if he might not even see that he has that ability. So if he crafts that in his, I mean, I don't know, I'm not there, but I just see him like having so much. It's not like he's got any much more potential, but he's got a lot of room to grow, is what I'm saying. He can do everything like you just said, Petey.
Mm-hmm.
Lars, did you notice how Petey basically just wrote the most Canadian answer ever and didn't really agree one way or another? He was just like, you both are right, and here's why you both are right.
Well,
It's true though. Like, I could see
I'm picking on you, Pete.
you either. I mean, I'm telling you, like, I think Moose could pull it off. Like, I always think of Moose's character as what it's currently at, and I'm like, he does a really good job at that. But then when you described like Lars, I am thinking like Kimbo Slice, you know, like and like, you know, chest hair and this and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to beat your ass and I look scary and stuff. And, you know, even with the stocking on his head, like Kimbo would wear, like I could see that with Moose. And that'd be great. I mean,
Well, you know, Dennis, they say 50 is the new 40. Maybe Canada is the new Switzerland.
Oh, that's great. Hey, real quick, I do want to give some props to a couple new subscribers to our YouTube channel. Christopher Baker, thank you so much. I know Terrence WK has been commenting on a lot of stuff. Bell's Boy, thank you for subscribing. Lance Callis, thank you so much for subscribing. Will Powerbomb. There's a couple other ones. And I got an email a few months ago before we jump back in that
A few months ago. You waited till now?
we've been busy.
Yeah, we never have time to talk about this stuff.
I know. And I feel horrible because the
There
guy's
you
name's Christopher Lawrence or Chris Lawrence. And he is a massive Dmitri Young fan.
Mm.
Oh, so you waited 3 months to do all this? Wow. Oh, wow. Okay, continue.
We found the one Dmitri Young fan out there, and
That's not related to me.
yeah, that's right. But there's a few highlights I just want to touch on. Dmitri, thank you so much for being so nice and signing all my stuff as a kid. My dad would take all of us guys to the family down to Sarasota, Florida for spring training when you were down there with the Reds. You were so nice. I remember as a kid being so mad that you were traded to the Tigers, but I moved on. We appreciate it, Lars. Lars, I'm a huge punk fan. I love your music. Your music got me through a lot of tough times. I love everything you've done with Rancid. Thank you so much. I kind of skimming through. I appreciate that you are doing a wrestling podcast. PD X Division, thank you so much. Your Steiner gimmick was funny. He said some things about DMAC, and then he's like, "And Dennis, you do good too." So, but I did promise a few months ago that I would read his email, and he always sends us emails talking about how awesome the podcast is and how much he appreciates Dmitri and Lars talking wrestling and how he loves it. So, yeah. All right, back to let's talk about topics. Can we do a little before we wrap this podcast up? We haven't done kind of a state of the union now. We're starting to get fans here and there. WrestleMania had the fans. We talked a little bit about that. AEW says double or nothing will be at full capacity. With the reintroduction of fans, how does this change the landscape of the rankings? If you were to rank right now without fans, 1, 2, and 3 company wise, and then with the fans, would it still be the same rankings? Does that question make sense? Because I think without fans, right now, AEW is doing the best work out there out of everybody, even with a limited number of fans. You have to put them at 1 because they constantly have fans in their stadiums, whether it's full or not.
Yeah, they sing Judas every time Chris Jericho comes out.
Yeah. 2, I would still put WWE at 2, at least right now for what they're doing. Lars, you disagree. I think Impact would be 3, and then Ring of Honor, MLW, and all of them would be packed together at that last spot. That's my rankings. Now, Lars, what about you?
Well, I think AEW, just because, like you said, they've had that kind of, even though it might be some of the wrestlers and some of the talent there, but it's creating some sort of an atmosphere, something to play off of. And then I would definitely go Impact. And then I would say, like, I think the problem that I have with the WWE television is that I don't feel like, I feel like it's kind of, even though it has a lot more production to it, it feels a little bit more stale to me, because it's kind of the same thing, and they're doing it. I don't know. So I would probably put them at 3, and that's the only reason why, because I just feel like I'm not really there. I feel like there's a disconnect. And of course, Ring of Honor, I think, does a great show, but I would say NXT I think does a better show than most, so I think their show is kind of up there. I mean, I think for me, my 2 favorite ones that I've been watching as of recent and over the last 6 months, I'd probably say Impact and NXT. And I came into this podcast saying NXT was my favorite,
Dmitri?
I gotta go with AEW 1, Impact with a very close second, because it's more than just the wrestling. Like I text y'all before, Swingers Palace. That cracks me up every week. That Johnny Swinger, he cracks me up, and just the storylines that go in there, they're just so basic and elementary, but so freaking funny. And then you have the little interviews that go on and stuff with Impact. So to me, it's very entertaining. NXT is a close number 3 because they have the stuff that's going on the outside with some of the fans and stuff, and just the overall stuff that goes on in NXT is just incredible. And then I'm going off the beaten path. I love MLW, and Leo Rush versus Myron Reed 1 and 2. Ooh wee! I mean, that's some great wrestling right there. And I get what was that? Hollywood Wrestling from California. Yeah, that one that comes on at 1 a.m.
Hollywood.
Yes, and I watched that at 1 a.m, and then Ring of Honor comes on at 4. I think with Ring of Honor, it just needs something around it. It's just that's like the most basic of basics. And with all the talent that they have, it's kind of hard to watch because you just hear ring mat and the commentating, and you kind of want to hear some sort of interaction with some fans or somebody there. So now that we're getting the fans back, now we're going to find out who likes who for real.
I think Ring of Honor suffered without the fans out of probably all the productions, because that's what made Ring of Honor so phenomenal was the fans. They brought everybody up to another level. They packed so many fans into a small venue. It made it feel bigger, and you don't have that right now. And I think Ring of Honor has been struggling. But Pete, before I ask you your question, is Johnny Swinger the same person on camera as he is off? Because that guy that makes me feel like that's him when the cameras are off.
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot.
Sorry,
man.
You could say no comment.
I hope he's not soft.
Actually,
he's not soft-spoken.
Screw it. I'll say it. No, he's totally normal. Like he could come on this podcast. I'll get him on and
Do it.
Out of character. Do you want him in character or out of character?
In character.
In
I don't know if he'll want to do that. That'll probably seem like work for him. But like, no, he's. You guys, you've seen Johnny Swinger in ECW days, his old Impact days, all that kind of stuff. Like that's how he is. Like, he's older now, but back, in his younger days, really good shape stuff, really good wrestler. And, he's still in great shape for his age and everything. It just, now he understands like, hey man, I can't keep up with you young guys. So I need a gimmick. And like, he just plays like a typical 80s, like
fanny pack
territory type wrestling dude, like he just, the cliche of 80s wrestling is Johnny Swinger. That's all he's doing. Yeah. And obviously I was on Swingers Palace and I like filming it, and I'll be on Swingers Palace again. And he has great one-liners and just the building of it. And the reason why Swingers Palace is so successful is it has a purpose. It's not like, hey, we're just here telling jokes. It's like, that's our, backstage, like how we set up matches and stuff. It's Swingers Palace. It's supposed to be like Vegas with odds, and we're betting and stuff and all that kind of stuff. So it has a purpose of setting up matches and stuff. We just add comedy in there, and that's genius. Instead of like grabbing a mic and be like, hey, I'm here with so-and-so, you got a match coming up. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. We still have, Mean Gia doing that. But, like she's our on, broadcast journalist, but then we need something else that's different, something that everybody can enjoy. And Swingers Palace.
It's a statement to how good he is, though. I feel like that whole character was like having fun with the boys, but somehow translates to being entertainment to the fan.
See, it's the best character, because think about it. We can all sit here, especially like being in the, wrestling business or whatever. I could sit here and I could feed stuff to Swinger. I'm like, hey, you ever think about this? Because we've all seen that honky tonk man or whoever from back in the day. And so like, it's an endless stream of just us feeding stuff to Swinger. Like, he probably has so much content. There you go. There you go, honky tonk man. He has so much content that he can go through, because he's like, oh yeah, I mean, I kind of wish I was that character. Like, not that I'm envious, but I'm like, man, it's so easy. And then it translates to his in-ring work too. Like, wait till you see one of his upcoming matches. I think it's him and Hernandez versus Triple XL. I don't know if it's going to be on Impact or before the Impact, but it's coming up in the next couple weeks. Watch it. I loved it.
Okay.
I will. That's a will do.
Is there anything else we want to discuss before we wrap this podcast up, since it's just us hanging out?
You didn't even ask me my question. I totally beat around the bush of it, but yeah.
He get to rate rate it.
Yeah, rate it, Pete.
Well, you know, I'll have to put Impact as one just because, you know, I work there. So very smart on my behalf. Then I would probably, you know,
He's got some contract negotiations. That's what's going on.
Yeah. By the way, guys, my contract is up in. No, with Impact though, you know what really sucks about that is we were the last to like do something outside of the empty arena. Like WWE, well, I think AEW was the first that added like the wrestlers, right? And they were the ones cheering. And then, you know, they had more fans. And then WWE added the Thunderdome and had the piped in crowd noise. And then Impact was last. Like we had nothing until January when we start piping in crowd noise for our pay-per-view. So it's just like, what can you do that's unique besides actually having fans in there? And I'll tell you, even though it sucks, like WWE already had fans at WrestleMania. AEW's having fans and they're doing that Double or Nothing. Impact still hasn't announced like, hey, when we're going to have fans again. So that kind of sucks too. I mean, I've wrestled in front of no people. It's tough. It sucks. The only good thing is, you know, when you go to commercial break, there's nobody there to still wrestle for. So you can be like, all right, I'm actually taking a break right now. Like, so, but there's my ranking.
But you'd never know it though, Petey, with that show though, that there wasn't any fans, you know, and that's one of the things why I think it's capturing a lot of people's attention, you know, and I think, you know, a lot of spotlights, of course, with the four, was it, well, never mind, I'm not even going to make that joke.
Well, one thing I did want to touch on, my point of this fan thing was the Kenny Omega and Rich Swann match. That was only supposed to be Kenny and Rich out there. I think Don was supposed to be in the corner. That's it. And then, you know, but it is tough. You have to wrestle for that long and you have to have the match of your life and you're going to do it in front of no fans. And, you know, I'm not going to say whose idea it was and all that kind of stuff, but then as you saw how the finished product was, the Good Brothers came out with, you know, Kenny, and then you had Willie and Eddie come out with Rich, kind of like that Japanese feel, so that you can actually have more sound. It makes it, when I did my singles match, it was my first singles match that I did coming up soon. What's that? We
haven't even talked about this.
Yeah.
What?
Your singles match without a crowd.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it sucks. Anyways, but no, I it does, man. I love the fans. I mean, try being rancid in front of no fans and playing not gonna happen. Well, you know, you're doing it for the TV, but
Dmitri played in front of no fans in Detroit.
hey, and spring training too on the minor league side. There's nobody except the guys who had a hot girlfriend that they fly out for 3 weeks, and then she's coming there like hot meat because you got nothing but guys on 4 fields. Like, who is that? And then you got one mad dude like, man, why did you wear that? Why did you have her come down where you have 200 guys and there's no females?
Well, I think, you know, you know, when I think about times on tour, I just remember that part in Raging Bull, you know what I mean? Where it's just like he's not having sex and he's just like, oh, you want to know what it's like to be on tour when you're married or you have a girlfriend? Well, that's exactly it. You know what I mean? So,
Hang
on, Pete. Let me ask you this. I didn't see your match. I don't know if it's aired or not.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. Not my singles match. My singles match will air in like 2 weeks, and it's my first singles match in like 14 or 15 months.
All right. So my question to you is, you were critical about wrestlers that come out and still do their signatures to the crowd when there's no crowd.
No, I wasn't critical.
In the past, you have been.
No. Still do your pose for the camera and stuff. What I don't like is like when you're like this, like there's nobody there. Like, you know, like you got to hit your pose because, like, you know, you're still that person, but you're not like pointing to like, yeah, I like you.
That?
Yeah, oh, yeah, I see you. Like oh,
that's
like,
so funny.
that's fun at the beginning, but like, you know, remember when like Stone Cold first did it? It was like, give me a hell yeah, and they cut to the crowd and there was nobody there. Okay, those jokes get old really quick. Now, okay, let's get back on track.
Right.
So did you do it?
No, I didn't do that.
All right, I just asked.
No, I do my pose like I normally do and stuff. And
do you look out in the crowd like you're waiting for someone to wave back to you? Come on.
No, I mean, no. Like, it is the weirdest thing though. Like, you can't gauge, like, you just can't gauge anything. It's almost like you're just doing it off of muscle memory and like not going through the motions, but like, yeah, you know, normally I would do this, that, like, it's so weird. I can't even describe it. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, it would seem pretty weird. See, like, I have a pet peeve. It's like when you're doing a sound check and then you got that one dude that like claps afterwards that shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? And you're just kind of like, thanks. You know what I mean? You gotta work out your shit or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and you kind of want privacy for that, right?
Yeah.
And it would be so unique to be up there playing and there's no energy back, right? Like and for a wrestler, it's got, and I'm sure for you too, D, like as a ball player, it's like you're feeding off whether they're booing you or they're, you know?
Yeah, it's all about the energy.
When are you going back on tour, Lars?
We're supposed to be going back out in August.
Are you scared?
No, I mean, the thing about it is there's a couple points of view that I have about it. I think that, I mean, if you look at the CDC guidelines now, I mean, and nearly 50% of this city is vaccinated here in San Francisco. I don't really walk around with a mask on barely if I'm outside. It's just because the CDC says you don't have to do that. The only time that you're supposed to do that now, according to their guidelines, is if you're in a small gathering inside. I think that the science is showing that you're not getting it outside. You're getting it inside when you're gathering, or if you're gathering too close outside. I'm not, an expert on this. I do get my news from reliable sources though. I don't go to major news networks. I actually, I try to use my brain as opposed to being force-fed things, but that's a whole other podcast. But
yeah,
coming close to Detroit,
I think we are.
Really?
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, we're gonna see you guys. I mean, and of course, you guys are welcome. I'll take care of you. The one thing that I do know is that backstages are you can't have anybody in the backstage. What we're gonna have is like a corral. So like there'll be a place for people to go with
you know who I am?
Office. What's that?
I don't do crowds. Do you know who I am?
Yes, I do.
That's why you won't be in the corral, Dennis.
That's right. I'm gonna send you the ticket.
Way to fuck that up, Dennis.
I'm good at that.
No, but I'm not that scared because I don't really buy into that whole fear thing. I feel like if you're smart, you can kind of figure it out. I'm not saying don't be safe or don't be respectful of others. Absolutely not. If you are going into a place where you think that you could be bringing something, protect yourself.
Yep.
It's just nice to do for other people, because not everybody's going to think like you or anything like that. It's like, I have my opinions, but I'm not going to go force them on, well, I don't wear a mask because, or I wear a mask and you should wear a mask and shame on you. That's all. That's what keeps the division between human beings, because we're all just having a human experience, right?
Absolutely.
So, but I mean, I want to get out there and play because, and I'm sure like you want to wrestle in front of fans, and everybody wants to get back to some semblance of normal, something like that. But no, I'm not afraid at all.
Well,
Plus, I take care of my body. You know what I mean? It's like you have a thing called an immune system. And yes, immune systems can be vulnerable to viruses. Yes, I understand that. But if you do things like maybe eat right, you know what I mean? Get enough sleep, take care of yourself and protect yourself, you're normally okay. I haven't had a flu shot in 4 years. And guess what? I haven't had the flu in 4 years.
Awesome.
all right. Although we did get a tweet, and maybe one podcast we need to try this. They want us to interview Petey Williams one day.
Yes.
We've done that many times.
Not with me, not with Dmitri.
And I've interviewed you. No, they've not interviewed you. You came right on the podcast and was a co-host.
Okay.
Questions like, why the fuck didn't you beat Amazing Red's ass when he stole your move?
Hey, I'm gonna come up with a 3-minute DMAC question for you.
Yeah.
Which starts at point A and ends at point C, stumbles into it.
Guys, you can ask me anything. Like, Petey, you can ask me something as basic as like, what's your favorite color? And I'm going to give like a 45-second to a minute answer. It's just that's my media training, like Scott will give you a 4-minute answer of why his favorite color is red.
Yeah,
But he actually won't.
He won't answer it though. All right.
Petey. Well, Petey, let me tell you here. That's my Scott impression. Anyways, all right. Listen, we're going to end the show. It's been fun. We'll get back to the guest, and maybe we'll do more of these. I kind of like this, just us. I miss this, guys.
Fun.
And dig it.
All right, guys. Wrestling Perspective. Look for Lars on tour coming up soon.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
Who'd you ever beat? Anyways, that's on our Collar and Elbow brand store. Promo code WPP.
Yes.
How about 5 across your lips?
Are you going to be drinking some Sham Pipple tonight?
I'm having that now.
Oh, gross. All right. Listen,
All right.
Wrestling Perspective. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night, guys.
See ya.